All right. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Yasapa with Zion Law School, and we are going to discuss. What's going on? It's my line. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School, and today we're going to go over the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. And if anybody wants to join in this discussion with me, the link is in the comments section. So feel free to click on the link. It's going to take you to the registration page. And from the registration page, all you have to do is come into the classroom. I only ask that you participate, not debate. You can state your opinion, show whatever you want to show, but keep it scholarly because this is an academic investigation, and it's not teaching of any particular doctrine. So what we're going to do is look at the Hebraic meaning of Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. Okay, and give me one moment. Let me put the link in the chat again. Give me 1 second here, please. Just one moment. I thought I had it there, but I guess I don't. 1 minute, please. 1 minute. But while you're doing that, we're going to try to determine if this translation, the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, is an accurate translation, or if it is not an accurate translation. And if it is not an accurate translation, what is the accurate translation or the best rendering of Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. So we'll consider what is the best rendering. Okay, so just let me get the link ready in case anybody wants to come in. You'll have the link. So give me 1 second, please. 1 moment. I'll get this link real quick.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 7.
Okay, so I guess
So we'll consider what is the best rendering. Okay.
All right, so 1 moment.
Let me get the link ready.
Let me stop this. 1 second, let me get the link. I want to put the link in the comments section, and then we'll get started. So we're going to do a academic investigation of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And from that, we'll see if this is a accurate translation, or if it, a rendering rather, accurate rendering of the verse, or if it is inaccurate. So here is the link to enter the classroom. Everybody is welcome. Say whatever it is you want to say. You can back up with whatever you want to say. Just I only ask that you don't come in repeating doctrine. Okay. And by the way, the Christians have their own interpretation of Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, and the Muslims have their own interpretation of this verse, and also the Jewish people have their own interpretation of this verse, and there are several the tree of life or some inference to a tree is referred to in many religious systems, okay? In many religious systems throughout history. So that's what makes this a very interesting discussion. All right. So here we go. Let's get started with the investigation. Let's go to my web browser here. So let's look at Genesis chapter 2. Okay, so we're going to look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 17 in the Bible Hub. So here we have it, and I'm going to scan through here really quickly. So everyone should scan through this on your own. I'm just going to go through a overview of everything. So the New International Version says, "But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die." New Living Translation, "Except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit," notice fruit, "you are sure to die." Fruit, okay? Fruit. Fruit is not in this translation, in this rendering here. Okay, English Standard Version, "But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat, you shall surely die." Berean Study Bible, "But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat from it, you shall surely die." The next translation is essentially the same. The King James Version is essentially the same. The next KJV is essentially the same. The Christian Standard Bible is essentially the same. Contemporary English Version, notice this. It says, "Except the one." Now that's different from all of the rest. The other said the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Whereas the Contemporary English Version reads, "Except the one that has the power to let you know the difference between right and wrong. If you eat any fruit from that tree, you will die before the day is over." Okay, so the difference again here is the one, right? The one that has the power to let you know the difference between right and wrong. This is not in the other versions that we've read, okay? So that's different, okay? The Good News is essentially the same, okay? The Holman Christian Standard Bible is essentially the same. The International Standard Version is essentially the same, okay? Net Bible is essentially the same. The New Heart Bible is essentially the same. The Faithful Version is essentially the same. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. Let me go ahead and read this one. The Faithful Version. "But you shall not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, in dying, you shall surely die." So this is different. In dying, you shall surely die. So in dying, you shall surely die is not in the other translations. So let's go to God's Word's translation. "You must never eat from the knowledge of the good and from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat from it, you will surely die." So it's essentially the same. The JPS is essentially the same. The New American Standard is essentially the same. The KJV 2000 is essentially the same. American KJV is essentially the same. American Standard Version is essentially the same. The Benton Septuagint is essentially the same. The Douay-Rheims is essentially the same. The Darby is essentially the same. English Revised Standard, essentially the same. Webster's Bible is essentially the same. The World English Bible is essentially the same. And notice the Young's literal. It says, dying thou doest die. Okay, dying thou doest die. So this is also, there are only a few who had this dying and then die rendering. Okay, so let's continue our investigation with the Genesis chapter 2:17 in the interlinear. If we look at these are modern Hebrew characters. Okay, this is the Hebrew word, or this is the modern Hebrew script, but it has the Hebraic etymology of the word behind it. Okay, so in our class, we use the Paleo script. Actually, we use all of them, but we use the Phoenician Hebrew. Okay. So the English rendering of this Hebrew word is butt of the tree. So this particular translator rendered the word butt of the tree. Okay, butt of the tree. Now let's look at the Strong's meaning and see what we get. Okay, so Strong says 1, tree, wood, timber, stock, plank, stalk, stick, gallows. Okay, 1A, tree, trees, 1B, wood, pieces of wood, gallows, firewood, cedar wood, woody flax. So let's take a look at gallows. Let's look at what gallows means. So gallows. All right, so gallows, a structure typically of 2 upright and a crossbar for the hanging of criminals. Okay, and similar giblet, scaffold, derrick, and nub. So giblet, all right. So giblet, noun, giblet, plural noun, gibbets. I'm sorry, gibbet, there is no L. Plural, gibbets, a gallows. So a gibbet is a gallows, and these are gallows. Okay, so you can see where people would be hung right here. All right, so let's go back to, what was the other? Okay, uh-oh. So that's, all right. So we can go here. Okay. So let's go down. Okay. So tree from its firmness. So the idea here is firmness. Okay. So firmness is why they're using the word tree, not the other way around. From its firmness. Okay. So firmness is the idea here. Hence wood. Okay. Hence wood. Now let's look up the word that it is derived from, this Hebrew word, okay, which is a verb. Let's take a look at its meaning. A primitive root, properly to fasten or to make firm, i.e. to close, as in close the eyes, okay? So shut, so this is the root word that it comes from, close or to shut. And let's go back. Oops. Okay. So let's go back. So tree as in firm. Okay. Firmness, wood, gallows. Okay. So, but notice it's rendered again tree. It's rendered tree. And in all but one, well, actually, in all of the verses, it's rendered as tree, right? So let's go back at it and look at it a little bit closer. Okay, so 1A, tree, singular, and then tree, plural, more than one. So in every rendering, they chose to render it as just one tree, but it could have just as easily have been 2 or more trees, right? When you look at 1A. The other option would be, it could be rendered wood, okay, or pieces of wood, or gallows. It could be rendered as gallows, okay? Instead of tree or trees, it could be rendered as gallows, okay? Or firewood, cedar wood, woody flax, okay? And cedar wood was used for purification and other uses, okay? So the part of speech is conjunctive wa, so it's a conjunction preposition, and then there's a noun, okay? So if you want to know more about this grammar, you can come to class and I'll teach you that. By the way, like and subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, then other people will get a chance to see it. If you don't like it, then the video is not going to move because the distribution of the video is done by likes, okay? And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. It would help Zion Law School greatly if you subscribe, and also if you like this. But this is valuable information that you're not, I can speak fairly confidently that you're not getting this anywhere else, what I'm doing right now. So, okay, so this word is a noun. It's used as a noun, masculine singular construct. So all of that, if you want to learn, you can come to the Deuteronomy chapter 28 class. I'll put the link in the comments after the video. You can come observe 4 classes for free. You don't have to enroll. You can just come in, fully participate. You're going to learn a tremendous amount. We're going to do in about 7 or 8 hours or so. No, in about 6 hours, we're going to do Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 14, which is the last verse of the blessings, okay? It'll be verse 14. And then next week will be Deuteronomy chapter 15, which is the first verse of the curses. So we'll do every verse. We'll do similar to what we're doing right now, but more in depth, from verse 14 to 68. I think it's verse 68 verses. So if you want to participate in that, you can participate. You get 4 weeks, no obligation to enroll, right? You just come in free, learn everything that you can learn. It's going to be a lot, right? You're going to learn a whole lot, and you can participate. So come in and join us. So like and subscribe the video, please. Like, subscribe, and share the video. All right, so we just dealt with this Hebrew word that's rendered here by by all the translators as tree, okay, as tree. And we saw that it also means gallows, right? And gallows are things that people get hung on. So now the next Phoenician Hebrew word here in the modern Hebrew script is translated of the knowledge, okay? So, but of the tree of the knowledge. So this is an article, okay? It's a noun, feminine singular construct. And again, I'll teach you this if you come to class. Let's look at the etymology of this word. All right, so 1, knowledge, 1A, knowledge, perception, skill, discernment, understanding, wisdom. So let's take a look at some of these definitions. Okay, so this is the gallows. Let's look at some of the definitions. Knowledge, facts. Does the Most High want you to know facts? Okay. Information. Does the Most High want you to have information? And skills. Does the Most High want you to have skills acquired by a person through experience or education, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject? So now remember, the context of this verse is good and evil. So knowledge of good and evil, right? Knowledge of good and evil. So that's a specific type of knowledge, correct? Does the Most High want you to have facts about the knowledge of good and evil? Does he want you to have information about the knowledge? Information about good and evil? Does he want you to have information about facts regarding good and evil? And does he want you to have skills regarding good and evil? So let's look these words up and get precise meanings, because it's always better to work with precise meanings. Okay. So here we are, facts. Let's look that up. All right, fact. A thing that is known or proved to be true. Reality. So whenever we see reality, we know that that deals with our six senses, right? So reality means concrete. So this is reasonable because our ancestors saw things in the concrete paradigm. So anytime you're talking about reality, it's concrete. So let's continue. Actuality, certain, certitude, truth. Information used as evidence. So fact, the other meaning is information used as evidence or as part of a report or news article. The truth about events as opposed to interpretation. Okay, so truth as opposed to interpretation. Right? That's what a fact is. So does the Most High want you to know things that have been proven true about good and evil? Does he want you to have information used as evidence about good and evil? Is that what this tree is? The truth about events, or in other words, the truth about good and evil events, as opposed to an interpretation of those events? Okay, so let's continue with our investigation here. Oops, go back. All right, so now let's look at information. Information, hold on, and I move this. All right, information. Okay, so here we can see things that are or can be known about a given topic, communicable knowledge of something, the act of informing or imparting knowledge, notification. Okay, and then 3, a statement of criminal activity brought before a judge or magistrate. Okay, so it's always interesting to see the legal meanings and to consider how they might apply. All right, so information. Let's look up information. So let's get the precise meaning of information. All right, information. Okay, information. Facts. Facts provided or learned about something or someone. Okay, so this is information is more precise or more specific in meaning than facts. Information has to do with something specific, somebody or something specific. So details, peculiars, okay, statistics, data. What is conveyed or represented by a particular arrangement or sequence of things, okay? Arrangement or sequence of things. So these would be, in other words, how they're ordered, right? How they are ordered, the order in which they occur or the order in which they are presented. So let's continue now. Skills, capacity to do something, technique, capacity to do something well, technique, ability. Skills are acquired or learned as opposed to abilities which are thought of as innate. So in other words, abilities you're born with and skills you learn through life experience or through practice, like basketball skills. Okay, nobody's born with basketball skills, right? You practice and you gain skills. Okay. All right, abilities are things that we are born with. I think that's pretty clear. So now let's look up skills. All right, skill, the ability to do something well, expertise, adroitness. As a verb, it means train to do a particular task. Train, okay? Train a worker to do a particular task. That means you teach them something, right? You teach them to do a particular task or set of tasks. All right, so then let's go back to that, to the information. Okay, so facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. The theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. So theoretical would always be abstract. Practical would always be concrete. Okay, so knowledge is dealing with abstract and concrete in this area, right? Let's look at some other. So knowledge, mastery, understanding, comprehension, command, skill, proficiency, capability, wisdom, science, learning, know-how, schooling, enlightenment, philosophy, information, facts, reports, news, intelligence. So let's go back to the verse. So with this rendering, there's a tree that's giving facts, information, and skill. Facts, information, and skill. Some concrete. No, I think there was one that was concrete, and the others were abstract, right? Information and details about good and evil. Okay, this tree that had specific information, facts, information, and skills about good and evil. That's what that's telling us. Okay, so now let's go back to the word. So we dealt with knowledge. Now the next word is perception. Perception. So let's look up perception and see what we come up with. Perception. All right, perception. Here's the meaning: the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. So this is completely concrete. This is consistent with the Hebraic worldview or the Hebraic paradigm. Okay, the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. So what is awareness? What is awareness? Let's take a look at this. This is very important. Awareness. What is aware? Aware as an adjective, having knowledge or perception of a situation or a fact. Perception. Concerned and well informed about a particular situation or development. Concerned and well informed about a particular situation or development. Aware. All right. So let's go back. Where were we? Perception. Okay. So concrete, right? Being aware of something through the senses. So that's automatically concrete. Next, the state of being or process of becoming aware through the senses, right? So state of being means as it is now. Now, right? Of becoming means it's becoming, growing into, okay, coming into existence, developing, not fully developed or not fully present yet, okay? So in the one case, state of being is fully present, and becoming aware of something, that means it's not fully there, but on its way, right? It's developing. But the key is through the senses. Similar, discernment, appreciation, realization, cognizance, okay? Consciousness, let's look at consciousness. Consciousness, the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. Awareness, alertness, responsiveness. Let's do that again. The state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. So we know this is through the senses. So this is fully concrete, right? Similar words: awareness, alertness, responsiveness. Okay, next. The awareness or perception of something by a person. Okay, so perception is always through the senses. So again, this is fully concrete. The fact of awareness by mind of itself and the world. Fully concrete, right? The mind is experiencing the world through the senses. So consciousness. This is the ability of the mind to experience the world through its senses. Okay. Alertness. All right, let's go back. This is a good one. Where were we? I'm lost here. Oh, back arrow, back arrow. All right. Okay, so remember, this is perception. Okay, perception. Here it is right here. Perception. Now, I'd like to know what you think. Which is the better rendering, knowledge or perception? Perception is fully concrete. It's fully concrete, whereas knowledge, most of that was abstract when we looked at those meanings. Perception, everything is concrete because what? You experience it through all of your senses. This is perception. So in my opinion, I would render this as perception. Today, I would render it as perception. Perception is better, is a more accurate rendering because of culture, right? The worldview, than knowledge, okay? Because it's concrete. Now, skill, we already looked at skill, so we really don't have to go over that again. Now, let's look at 1B, discernment, understanding, and wisdom. So let's check these out and see how they work for us. Discernment. Discernment. If anybody wants to come into the class, you're welcome to come into the class while we're live. I'm going to try to move through this quickly. But if you're watching this, please like and subscribe, share the video, okay, so that it can get distributed to other people. Okay, discernment, the ability to judge well. So judge. The meaning here is to sit in judgment on, to pass sentence to. Okay, these are intransitives, to sit in judgment, to act as judge. Okay, now let's look at these. Okay, judgment, taste, discrimination, refinement, cultivation. Let's look at discrimination. The unjust or prejudiced treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. Right, discrimination. Okay, discrimination. The recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and the other. This is a good one. The recognition and understanding the difference between one thing and the other. The ability to discern what is high quality, good judgment, or taste. Okay. All right. So let's go back up here. This is discrimination. Prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things. Keep that in mind. Okay, so let's continue. Discernment. Okay, did we just do? No, okay, judgment, the ability. Okay, so judgment, the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions, right? So decisions about yourself or somebody else, right? Conclusions about things that are your business or things that are not your business. Okay, an opinion or conclusion. A decision of a court, a misfortune or calamity as divine punishment. Okay, a misfortune or calamity as divine punishment. Let's look at opinion. What do we get from opinion? Let's see. Opinion. We'll get precise meaning here. Opinion, a view or a judgment formed about something. Opinion, a view or a judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. All right, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. So this is not a good thing, right? Next, the belief or views of a large number or majority of people about a particular thing. So remember, this has nothing to do with fact or knowledge, right or wrong, right? An estimation of the quality or worth or someone or something. An estimation of the quality or worth of someone or something. This is what an opinion is, all right? So we're talking about discernment. Discernment. So let me go back. Discernment. Where was our discernment? Okay, here we are, discernment. Okay, so this should be pretty clear right now, right? Of what's going on here with discernment. All right. Well, let's read number 2. So discernment, number 1, the ability to judge well. Number 2, in Christian context, perception in the absence of judgment with the view of obtaining spiritual guidance and understanding. All right, that doesn't mean really too much. So let's walk away from that. All right. Okay, so we looked at discernment, understanding, and wisdom. And we do this, we do this like this so that we can be precise. Okay, understanding. It's very important to have the precise meanings. So understanding, the ability to understand something, comprehension. So does the Most High want you to understand good and evil, or to be able to comprehend good and evil, right? To grasp, mastery, comprehend. Let's see what comprehend means, okay? Comprehend, understand, mentally understand. So is it something wrong with mentally understanding good and evil? Is there, what's wrong with that? It's a question we have to ask ourselves. Is that reasonable? Okay. Is it reasonable? So let's go back. All right. And we look at that last one, wisdom. Well, this is a good one. Wisdom. Wisdom, the quality of having experience. So that's concrete, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise, the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the body of knowledge and principles that develops within a specific society or period. So in other words, wisdom is the ability to use knowledge well, right? Use knowledge to your advantage. That's wisdom. So let's go back. Wisdom is not knowledge, but wisdom is action, right? You guys see that? Wisdom is action. It's not just something in the head. If it's in the head, that's called that's a form of intelligence, right? Depending on depending on what side of the brain, or which side of the brain is left or right, is more heavily weighted in the processing. But so you have creative and analytical, but that's another story. But you see that wisdom is the ability to use knowledge, all right? So that means that you have to take action. That's action, right? That's action. Wisdom involves act. In other words, you have to do something. Wisdom is demonstrated, not thought, right? Until you demonstrate it, it's not wisdom. All right. So here we have it. So the question is, what's the better rendering? Or better yet, let's re-ask the question. Is knowledge the best rendering? Is knowledge, given what we just considered here, is knowledge the best rendering? In my personal opinion, I think that perception is the better rendering. I would go with perception somewhere along the continuum of perception and discernment, right? The concrete, because again, that's the Hebraic paradigm, concrete, right? Okay, perceiving things through the senses, right? Action, right? Okay. Now let's look at this Hebrew word that's translated as good or of good. Let's see what it means here. All right. So this is Strong's 2896, and it reads, number 1, good, pleasant, agreeable. 1A, pleasant, agreeable to the senses. Pleasant, agreeable to the senses. 1B, pleasant to the higher nature. Pleasant to the higher nature. Okay, to the higher nature. Think about that, to the higher nature. 1C, good, excellent of its kind. 1D, good, rich, valuable in estimation. 1E, good, appropriate, becoming. 1F, better, That's so to be better, it has to be in comparison to something, right? 1G, glad, happy, prosperous of man's sensuous nature. Sensuous nature. 1H, good, good understanding of man's intellectual nature. So there was the sensual and then the intellectual nature. 1I, good, kind, benign. 1J, good, right, right as in ethical, okay, ethical. 2, a good thing, benefit, welfare. 2A, welfare, prosperity, happiness. 2B, good things, okay. 2C, good benefit. 2D, moral, moral good, welfare, benefit, good things, welfare. 3A, welfare, prosperity, happiness. 3B, good things. Okay, 3C, bounty. So how can we work with these numbers? How can we not numbers with these meanings to extract meaning to determine how what is the better rendering of the word? Okay, so let's take a look at it. So what we see in 1A, okay, pleasant and agreeable has to do with the senses. So that's concrete, right? So that's Hebraic, concrete. It has to do with the senses. 1B, pleasant to the higher nature. The higher nature is what happening in here. Okay, abstract. In my opinion, abstract. But you don't have to agree with me. That's my opinion. You can have your own opinion, of course. 1C, good, excellence, or good or excellent. Okay, abstract, right? 1D, good, rich, valuable, and estimation. Okay, nothing there. Okay. What's interesting to me when we look at this is 1G, which is glad, happy, prosperous of man's sensuous nature. Why? Because sensuous involves the senses, right? Concrete. It involves the senses. Okay. 1H, good understanding of man's intellectual nature. So that would be abstract, right? If you are in one of my classes, you know why it's abstract. 1I, nothing there. 1J. 1J is very interesting. Notice 1J, good, right, as in ethical, So let's take a minute and look up ethical. Ethical. Okay, a branch of philosophy that defines what is good for the individual. A branch of philosophy, this is abstract, right? Philosophy is abstract. For everybody who's in the class or who's taken my classes, they understand why philosophy is abstract. The branch of philosophy that defines what is good for the individual and for society and establishes the nature of obligations, the nature of duties, okay? The nature of obligations and the nature of duties that people owe themselves and one another, okay? That people owe themselves and one another. Keep this in mind. So let's go back. Okay, good. Keep that in mind. All right. So now let's look at 2D. It says moral good, moral good. Now let's look up moral. Get the precise meaning of moral. Okay. Precise meaning of moral. Moral, concerned with principles of right and wrong. Concerned with principles of right and wrong behavior. Okay, behavior, not thoughts, behavior. And the goodness or badness of human character. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. We'll look up human character. I'll make that clear. So everybody's working with the same meaning, same definitions. Okay, human character, the qualities common to humanity, ordinary human behavior, especially considered as less than perfect, social, okay, the unique elements that form a basic part of human life as distinguished from animal life, okay, as distinguished from animal life. Distinguished from animal life, okay, so let's go back to that. Moral, concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior, okay, and the goodness and badness of human character, good, righteous, upright, high-minded, so on and so forth, holding or manifesting high principles for proper conduct. So this is all behavior, right? All concrete stuff. A lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent, that can be derived from a story or piece of information or experience. A person's standard of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and what is not acceptable to them, okay? Your standard or standards of behavior or belief that establish what's acceptable. Keep this in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, so those were the ones that stood out to me about the ethics and morality. Okay, ethics and morality, and we looked at those meanings. Okay, so we're going to put all of this stuff together, but right now we're collecting our data, if you will. Okay, now let's look at the word that's translated as evil. This is Strong's number 7451. 1, bad, evil. 1a, bad, disagreeable, malignant. 1b, bad, unpleasant, evil. Evil as in giving pain. So pain would be something that you feel, right? So pain would be, the feeling of pain would be abstract because you feel it in your head, even though you can like smash your finger, but the pain is really in your head. But that can be, some people might say that's concrete, but what might be concrete is what caused the pain, right? Not the pain itself. There's a difference. Okay, giving pain, unhappiness, misery. Emotions are always abstract. 1c, evil, displeasing. 1d, bad, okay, of its kind, land, water. 1e, bad, as in bad value. 1f, worse than, worst, as a comparison. So you see, this is the opposite of good, okay? These meanings are the exact opposite of the good. 1g, sad, unhappy. 1h, hurtful, evil, as in hurtful. 1i, bad, unkind, vicious in disposition. Okay, vicious in disposition, bad, evil, wicked, ethically. So 1J is bad, evil, wicked, ethically. Now we looked up ethically, right? That's a behavior. So it's concrete. You can see the behavior, right? You can see a thief stealing something, or you can hear a liar lying, so on and so forth. All right, so that's very interesting, okay? 1J1, in general, of persons of thoughts. 1J2, deeds, actions, okay? You can see their actions. Let's see. 2, evil, distress, misery, calamity. 2A, evil, distress, adversity. 2B, evil, injury, wrong. 2C, evil, as in ethical. Okay, so that's behavior. 3, evil, misery, distress, injury. 3A, evil, misery, distress, evil, injury, wrong. 3C, evil as in ethical. Okay, so again, ethics, right? So this good and evil, what's your opinion? How would you render these? Okay, how would you render and why? If you want, put it in the comments. I would like to see it. And like and subscribe the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And well, you know what I'm trying to say. But what I have in mind here is that this has to do with behavior. Behavior, okay, ethical behavior, right? And let's go back to morals, right? Let's go back to ethics. Okay. that defines what is good. So this is ethics, the branch of philosophy that defines what is good for the individual and for society. So it defines it, that's behavior, right? Good behavior and bad behavior, and establishes the nature of obligations, okay? In other words, this is what you have to do, this is, or you don't have to do. Duties, this is what you are bound to do. See, that which one is morally or legally obligated to do, that's a duty, okay? A period of time spent, so not that 3, describing a workload, so no, let's look at obligations. Obligation, the act of binding oneself by social, legal, or moral tie to someone. 2, a social, legal, or moral requirement, duty, contract, right? These are all, if it's a duty or a requirement, that's things you got to do, a contract, right? A contract. A course of action imposed by society. So action automatically what? It's going to be something that's going to be concrete. Do this or do that, or don't do this and don't do that, something like that. Okay, so that's ethics, morals, concern with the principles of right and wrong behavior. Okay, so let's go back. So we're talking about behavior, okay, or a system, an ethical system of right and wrong, an ethical system of duties and obligations. Okay, so what does all of this mean? What does it all mean? Here, in my estimation, I would render knowledge, perception, and discernment. Perception and discernment, because they were concrete, right? Perception in particular is fully concrete because it involves the senses, which is by definition concrete, right? So good and evil involves a system of right and wrong, or ethics, or morality. So what we're seeing here, well, this Hebrew word here is not, right? That's pretty clear. We don't really need to go into that. Not. Before I make the statement, let's look at Strong's number 39, which is translated, you shall eat. So let's look at shall first. Let's look at the meaning of shall, so we can get the tense. Okay, shall is first person, okay, expressing what? Future tense. So future tense means it has not happened yet, right? That means in the future, it is not now. It is not the present situation. It is not the present state, okay? Not the present state. So why is this important? Because up until the point where they would eat, up until this point, or let me rephrase that, from the time that the Most High created Adam and Eve, according to the way I am rendering this, they did not have, let's say, a conscious, put it like that, because what is it's a perception. Conscious is the perception, the guide that tells you what's right and what's wrong, okay? So in other words, they were non-judgmental. Let's go back and look at that. Up until this point, they were non-judgmental. Let's go back and establish it. Again, I forgot where I was, but I don't know how long we're into this, but I'll try to make it quick. Perception meaning. Where's judgmental? Oh, judgment. Okay. Judgment, the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions, and opinion, right? Or conclusion. Okay, an opinion or conclusion. Okay, so if we were to look up opinion, let me see, I lost track of where I am. Okay, so here we are, judgment, conception, where is it? School of thought, judgment. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and go right to it. Okay, so this was our state prior to eating of the whatever it was. It wasn't fruit, right? Only one. We didn't see anything about a fruit yet. But let's before we go there, let's just make sure. When Adam was created, he was conscious. That means aware and responding to one's surroundings. In other words, he was non-judgmental about his surroundings. He didn't have negative thoughts or opinions based upon nothing about his surroundings. I hope everybody can see that, right? He was just fully aware and fully awake, okay? That's what it's saying. Fully aware and fully awake, having knowledge of something, aware, okay? Having knowledge of something or aware. Okay, so let's get rid of the gallows. Wisdom. Let's go back. Comprehend. Understanding. Oh, okay, aware. Having knowledge or perception of a situation or a fact. Okay. Concerned and well informed about a particular situation or development. See, there's no expression of right and wrong, no morality issue. He was just aware, just present, non-judgmental. Okay, so let's close this out. Okay, he was without, in other words, without ethics, right? According to the text, without ethics, according to the Hebraic meaning. But that's not a bad thing because he didn't need it. Okay. Moral. Okay, so at that time he was without moral or morality. Some people might find this offensive because religions are all based upon morality. Christianity, Islam, morality is a big issue, right? There's judgment of right and wrong. But when we look at the case of Adam, when he was created, he did not have a system of ethics. Morality was not an issue for him. Why was that? Because he was non-judgmental. He didn't need it. Not only that, but there's something else we can go into on the topic. All right. Okay, moral. Okay, so let's go past that. Okay, close that out. All right. So character. Whereas conscience, that's where we were. Conscience. Conscience. Okay, so here we are. Conscience. What is conscience? If we read conscience, an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. Again, consciousness, an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. So when we go back and we look at this, Adam was created without a conscience, without a conscience, without a conscience. Think about what that means. Adam was created without a conscience. Let me go back and. Okay, so now let's look further into the definition of conscience. I'm going to read it again. An inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. So if Adam didn't know right and wrong, that means he didn't have a conscience. Why would that? Because he didn't need one. Okay. Similar words. Moral sense. See that? Moral sense, the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. Adam had, are we to assume Adam had no ability to distinguish between right and wrong, right? We would say that's how children are, right? Children don't have the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. Adam, prior to the event where he ate from the fruit, he had no sense of right and wrong. He was like a child. Okay, so still small voice, creed, beliefs, conjunctions, scruples, qualms. Now, I don't know how you might see this, but this might be surprising to some people. Adam, prior to eating, had no conscience. Had no conscience. So how does it relate to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Was this really a tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Was it? Or was it conscience? Right? Was it conscience? And was this even a tree? Right? Was it even a tree? Because good and evil is talking about an ethical system. An ethical system of right and wrong, we're talking about a conscience, right? That inner voice that tells you something is right or wrong, do this or don't do that. And I'm not pushing a doctrine, I'm just looking at the Hebraic meaning. So you don't have to believe anything I say. I'm just looking at this from a Hebraic point of view to make an assessment of the quality of the rendering of this verse, okay? All right, so let's continue. By the way, let's look at judgment. Let's look at the definition of judgment by the Huffington Post. And I want to say thank you to Donna for giving me this. Okay, judgment clouds the mind. Self-criticism leads to negative thoughts, patterns, self-doubt, and anxiety, which in turn can wreak havoc on the heart and the immune system and prevent us from leading the lives that we truly deserve. I'm going to read that again. Self-criticism, this is judgment, right? Judgment leads to negative thought patterns. Okay, not a negative thought or not negative thoughts, plural, but thought patterns. A pattern is a way of habitually thinking. For example, if you put a CD into your computer or you put a DV into your computer and it has a movie on it, it'll always play that movie perfectly. It'll play the music, the song, or the movie. Why? Because there's a pattern embedded in the CD or DVD. In this case, negative thoughts embed a pattern in your mind, okay? Self-criticism leads to negative thought patterns, self-doubt, and anxiety, which in turn can wreak havoc on the heart, that's your heart, and the immune system, and prevent us from leading the lives we truly deserve. Now let's go ahead and read the article. Human beings are prone to judge and evaluate situations, each other, and even ourselves. This is a survival mechanism, something we do to avoid danger and prevent harm from happening to us. However, too much judgment can be a negative thing. When we begin harshly judging others or ourselves, our bodies and our minds bears the brunt of this negativity, right? Self-criticism leads to negative thought patterns, self-doubt, and anxiety, which in turn can wreak havoc on the heart and immune system and prevent us from leading the lives we truly deserve. According to the Harvard Medical School, anxiety is the leading cause of gastrointestinal disorders, respiratory disorders, and heart disease. It is important to be aware of this negative food for the soul and to try and nip it in the bud when it happens. Remember that we are all human and we all make mistakes. Rather than beating yourself up over every little thing, be compassionate and forgiving towards others, towards yourself and others. Tips for enlightening judgment. Be aware of judgment and criticism. Take note of your thoughts and the things you say. Be aware of the times when you are being overly critical and ask yourself why you feel this way. And think about Adam too. Think about Eve. Okay. Are your thoughts rooted in reality, or are they coming from a place of fear and insecurity? Once you notice yourself being judgmental, you can take action to reverse this destructive behavior. Reframe your thoughts. And it goes on to talk about other things. Notice this. Avoid, now you know people are social creatures, right? Look at this bit of advice. Avoid people who are overly judgmental. It is a simple fact that people who spend a significant amount of time together tend to pick up each other's characteristics and behaviors. If you have friends and acquaintances who are harshly critical of themselves and other people, chances are you will begin to be the same or to do the same. Okay, so let me find something else, another article here. Judgmental, let's see, judgmental health effects, something like that. Health effects of being judgmental. So let's see what kind of health effects we can come. Okay, judging someone can have similar effects to other forms of discrimination. People describe feeling isolated, ashamed. Okay, so Adam felt ashamed, didn't he? Eve felt ashamed, didn't they? Misunderstood, criticized, and demeaned. Judging can also result in people being less likely to talk about what they're going through and ask for the help they need. Now let's see. What does it mean to be judgmental? Judgmental is a negative word to describe someone who often rushes to judgment without reason. The adjective judgmental describes someone who forms a lot of opinions. These are words we saw, right? Usually harsh or critical ones about lots of people. Judgmental types are not open-minded or easygoing. Let's see, why is judgmental bad? Okay, why is being judgmental bad? They can get in the way of fixing problems, hurt other people's feelings when you don't need or mean to, and they can harm your own self-esteem and happiness. Research shows that being judgmental of others can negatively affect your self-esteem more than any outside force. This should be becoming clear to everybody by now, I think. Let me take a look at this. What are the consequences of judging others? Judging someone can have similar effects to other forms. Okay, we read that already. What are the consequences of judging others? Okay, we read that. Why do we judge others so quickly? Why is society judgmental? We as a society are judgmental because we lack acceptance. We should learn to open our heart and accept people. Every person we meet has something, Skip that. Why do we judge people? Judging is simply our attempt to create a hierarchy of better than, less than, superior to, inferior to. Okay? Self-righteous, self-wrongness. When we put someone down by judging them negatively, it makes us feel a little better about ourselves. Now, let's look at harmful health effects. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we find here about harmful health effects of judging others. This is the article, Why Judging Others is Harmful to Your Health. To your health. Okay, so I'll begin at the top. Do you know that judging others is harmful to your health? Maybe that's why your mother always tells you never to judge someone until you've walked in their shoes. We are social creatures, and our nature and our natural instinct is to judge those around us. We judge people on their driving skills or lack of. We judge them on parenting, their clothes, their decor, their political views, their choice of words, how they look, how they speak, right? We could add that. The list is endless, but now the jury is out. Judging others is harmful to your health. The question is why? Judgment makes you self-critical. The more you judge others, the more you judge yourself. By constantly seeing the bad in others, we train our minds to find the bad. This can lead to an increase in stress. So that's negative stress, not positive stress. Stress can weaken the immune system and cause high blood pressure, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and stroke. Well, these are the health issues in the so-called Black community, right? These are some of the major things. In fact, 43% of all American adults suffer adverse health effects from stress. Stress can lead to health problems, like it's easy to see the faults, but it takes effort to see the good in others and in ourselves. The more we learn to be accepting of others' faults, the more we learn to love ourselves. It makes people shy away. When people know you're judgmental, they automatically step back. They become very weary of you, and think twice before sharing anything meaningful. Okay? If you want to have relationships that aren't superficial, you need to learn to accept people as they are. Distancing people will lead to you missing out, making a connection with family and friends. Okay, so let's skip that. Okay, so being judgmental stunts personal development. When you point your finger at someone, you're actually pointing back at yourself, right? You're pointing one at them and three back at yourself. Many people turn to criticism of others instead of focusing on how they can improve. It's much easier to blame your partner for being touchy than to accept responsibility for your hurtful words, okay? So it's just not that interesting. People instinctively like to be around positive people. Positive people put out positive energy and are fun to be around. The more negative a person is, the more likely he is to drive friends or to drive away friends. Okay. No one likes listening to a constant barrage of complaints. So, All right. So let's go back. Okay. So the conscious, right? The conscious, we looked at that, the ethical system of right and wrong. So who determines what your conscious is, right? Who determines that? Is it you, or are you born with it? Or is it established by the community? Okay, it's established by the community. Let me see if I can find something about it. Okay, what is the conscience of man? So, let's see. Conscious is a cognitive process that elicits emotion and rational associations based on an individual's moral philosophy or value system. So these are, the moral philosophy is what? Obtained at home through whatever church, synagogue, mosque, through school, right? Through interactions with authority figures, right? Rewards and punishments, okay? And the values, right? It's established by where you grew up. So a person who was raised, let's say, in a richly melanated community in the US is going to have a different moral philosophy and value system than someone who's raised, let's say, in Cambodia, okay, or Germany. It's going to be completely different, right? Or someone who's raised, let's say, in a very rich family is going to have a completely different moral and moral system or moral philosophy and value system than somebody who's raised in the projects, right? It's completely different. So in other words, the conscious is completely different. So the conscious varies, right? So there are many different moral philosophies and value systems out here, which is why there's so much conflict, right? Which is why there's so much conflict. So that's the problem. And this, in my estimation, is the way Genesis 20 verse 17 should have been rendered. Okay, what's being spoken about here is the conscious, the faculty of conscience. Adam, when he was created, Eve also had no conscience, had no moral philosophy, no value system. That means that they were what? Non-judgmental. What does it mean to be non-judgmental? Let's see if we can find something. I'm going to keep that open. Let's see if we can find what it means to be non-judgmental. Okay, non-judgmental, not judgmental. Oh, look, avoiding moral judgments. Okay, avoiding moral judgments. Can we find an example? What is a non-judgmental person called? Why is it important? Okay, the benefits of non-judgmental listening. By allowing them to speak without interruption, the speaker is able to work through and understand their own situation more quickly. Young people especially are able to detect judgment from others. If they don't feel accepted, they might not open up to you and be honest. So let's look at this non-judgmental listening. So let's just look at this. Okay, non-judgmental. Adam was non-judgmental. Non-judgmental listening. Let me close this out. Okay, professional mental health workers. Okay, we're talking about mental health, right? So in other words, being judgmental has an effect on the mental health, okay? Professional mental health workers and counselors are trained in the key principles of non-judgmental listening. Mental health first aiders are also given some training in this area too. What do we mean by non-judgmental listening? Non-judgmental listening is about trying to really understand the other person. So if you're judgmental, you're not trying to understand the other person, right? You're thinking about what you want to say and what your needs are. It is about going beyond just hearing the words spoken and involves understanding exactly what the other person is saying. So let's go and look at non-judgmental mental health or something like that. Okay, in other words, being non-judgmental is being aware of your feelings. Notice being aware of your feelings regarding certain matters and understanding why you are critical, along with reflecting on your flaws and failures, which could eventually result in treatment and management. So when we talk about non-judgmental, it means not labeling something as good and bad, right? Hurtful or whatever. In other words, you are just an observer, right? You are just an observer, okay? Just an observer. Non-judgmental attitude. Let's take a look at this. And then we'll stop soon because I don't want to make the video too long. All right. Okay, here's the title, Non-Judgmental Attitude, the Core of Psychiatric Nursing. Maybe I want to do something else. Okay, let's look at this. Being non-judgmental is not just a concept in textbooks and manuals expounded in lectures before mental health rotations. It is a core attitude. Okay, notice this, that every psychiatric nurse needs to develop and harness to effectively deal with their patients. Okay, so let's see. Non-judgmental health. health benefits, I guess, health benefits. By staying non-judgmental, they are more likely to feel comfortable. No, that's not it. Okay, importance of being, let's see what we find here. The importance of being non-judgmental. Okay. Let's see. All right. I don't want to go through any of this. Well, you all can look it up on your own, but it should, but it should be pretty clear, right? Should be pretty clear. Let me see just one more try. Let's see what we get here. How to be non-judgmental of yourself and others. So this is talking about how not to be rather than what it is. What benefits of being non-judgmental? Let's look at that. Okay. Let's see, do they list them? Okay, so the first benefit of being non-judgmental is that it opens you up to new experiences. You have a higher quality of friendships. All right, so I don't like any of this. So let's stop wasting time on that. But anyway, as I mentioned before, this good and evil appears to me to be the conscience, right? The moral philosophy, the value system, so on and so forth. Okay, the knowledge is the perception. Okay, the perception would be the better rendering. Now let's look at you shall eat. Strong's 398. To consume, devour. Now, when we look at you shall eat, that has to do with what? Let's go back. Okay, so we're back in the Bible Hub, Genesis 2:17. So let's read this again. But you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. Okay, so must not eat, that has reference to the tree, and the good and evil is what? Descriptive or specifies what this tree is, right? It's not just a tree, or even is it a tree? Is it a gallows? See, in other words, is the conscience a gallows? Remember the gallows. Okay, let's look at the gallows again. Is the conscience a gallows? Right? Remember gallows? Let's take a look. Is the conscience a gallows? Here's the gallows, right? Where they hang people. See, death. Is the conscience that thing that hangs you? Okay? That the Most High did not want us to have a conscience, right? Why? Because the conscience is judgmental. And when you're judgmental, what does it do to your blood pressure? Increases it. What does it do to your heart? Makes it fail. It harms you. It harms your body, right? And it leads to death. Okay, so shall you eat? Now let's look at the meaning of eat. Okay, Strong's number 398. To eat, devour. Notice this, burn up, to feed. Now, when we go back to the tree, you see trees, you can burn wood, pieces of wood, you can fire wood, you can burn it, right? Okay, so let's continue looking. You can burn them. Okay, so 1A, to eat. Okay, that would be the human subject. 1A2, to eat, devour, of beasts and birds. Okay, 1A3, to devour, consume, of life. Notice, to devour, consume. You can consume wood, right? You can consume all of those things that we looked at for knowledge. 1A4, to devour, slay with the sword. 1A5, to devour, consume, destroy. The subject for these would be inanimate subjects. For example, pestilence or drought. Okay. 1A6, to devour, as in oppression, right? 1B1, to be eaten by men. 1B2, to be devoured, consumed, to be wasted, destroyed, to cause to eat, feed, to cause to devour. 1D, 1D1, to feed. 1D2, to cause to eat. 1E1, to consume. Now remember, this eat has to do with the tree, right? Good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil is the type of tree. So to consume the tree, to consume the wood, right? To consume the tree, to consume the wood, or to eat the tree, or to eat the wood. Okay. Notice that there's no fruit. There's no fruit here. Right? Did you guys notice that? There is no fruit. Okay. But rather, what is it? Let's look at 1A6. 1A6, to devour. See, of oppression. Of oppression. Okay, of oppression. Let's go through it one more time. Let's start at 1A1. To eat. So that would be the human subject, right? The human subject eating. 1A2, to eat, devour, of beasts and birds. Okay, so that would be them doing it. 1A3, to devour, consume, of fire. So can that wood be devoured or consumed with fire? Just something to think about. Let's think about it. Apply some analytical thinking to this. 1A4, to devour, slay, of sword. Okay, no. To devour, consume, destroy, as in inanimate subjects. Well, could that have something to do with the gallows? No, you decide. 1A6, to devour, oppression. What about that one? To be eaten. Okay, 1B2, to be devoured, consumed by fire. Okay, does that apply to the wood mentioned? Well, in Strong's number 6086, right? All of these are possible translations: tree, wood, timber, stock, plank, stalk, stick, gallows. Okay, firewood, cedar wood, woody flax. So let's go back. Okay. So I don't see anything really else there that I really want to focus on, except for 1E1, which is to consume, right? To consume. Consume could be by fire, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be by eating. Okay, so now we'll look at the word that's translated or rendered as from. So Strong's 4480, it says from, out of, on account of, off, on the side of, since, above, then, so that not, more than. 1A, from, expressing separation, from, as in separation, off, on the side of. 1B, out of. 1B1, okay, with verbs of preceding, removing, expelling. 1B2, of material from which something is made. Notice that all of these are in parentheses, okay? Of source or origin. 1C, out of, some of, from. 1D, from, since, after, as in time. 1E, than, more than, as in, as a comparison. 1F, from, even, to, both, either, or. 1G, then, more than, to, much, for, as in comparison. 1H, from, on account of, through, because, and to, that. Okay, that. Not shall you eat from. Okay, so there's really nothing really there that I see at this point. And 4, we don't really need to go, well, let's see, do we? Let me go through it. Okay, so Strong's number 3588, 1. That, for, because, when, as though, as, because, that, but, then, certainly, except, surely, since. 1A, that. 1A, 1, yea, indeed. 1B, when, of time. 1B, 1, when, if, though, with concessive force. 1C, because, since, as in a casual connection. 1D, but, after the negative. 1E, that, if, for, if, indeed, if, for, though, but, if, but rather. 1G, except that. 1H, only, nevertheless. 1I, surely. 1J, that is. 1K, but, if. 1L, though. 1M, for as much as. For, therefore. So right now I don't see anything interesting with that. So in the day that you eat from it, I don't think we really need to go through in the day that you eat from it, because this is having to do with the time, right? The day. So I don't want to consider the time, because we're already getting late. That you eat, we already considered the meaning of eat. That's Strong's number 398, right? So it can either be eat, like you eat it through your mouth and you digest it, but consumption could also be by fire or other means of consumption, right? And then of it, what is this? Let's see. This is Strong's 4480, from, out of, on account of, off. And the day that you eat of it. Let's go through these. Okay, so 1B, out of. 1B, 1, with verbs of preceding, removing, expelling. 1B, 2, of material from which something is made. Note that's in parentheses. 1B, 3, again in parentheses, of source or origin. 1C, out of, some of, from. 1D, from, since, after, as in time. 1E, than, more than, so that would be a comparison. 1F, from, even, to, both, and either. 1G, than, more than, too much. Again, a comparison. 1H, from, on account of, through, because, and then to, that. I don't at this time see anything interesting right here. This would be the what? The preposition, third person masculine, singular. That's the part of speech. Okay. And the day that you eat from it, so the it would have to do with what? The tree, right? Or what they're rendering as tree. Okay. Surely, the word surely. Now this is very interesting. Note what surely means in the Hebrew, and note what they translate, what they rendered it as. Okay, so surely, this Hebrew word was rendered surely in English, but note the Hebraic meaning. Strong's number 4191, to die, kill, have one executed. 1A, to die. 1A2, to die as a penalty. Be put to death. 1A3, to die, perish, of a nation. 1A4, to die permanently by neglect of wise moral conduct. Did y'all get that? To die, I'm sorry, prematurely, to die prematurity, to die prematurely by neglect of wise moral conduct. What is that to do, right? To kill, put to death, dispatch. To kill, put to death, 1D, 1D1, to be killed, put to death, 1D, 1A, to die prematurely, to die prematurely. Okay, now note here, this is the same Strong's number. Okay, so when you see the same word repeated twice, it means emphasis. Okay, emphasis. Emphasis. Okay, so that's why they said, surely, surely you shall die. And that's why the other versions rendered this as die or dying. Let me go back to it. Let me see. We can find the one. Oh, here it is. Dying, thou doest die. Right? There was another somewhere in here, but that explains why. Dying doeth die. Okay, that's somewhere else in here. So what can we say about all of this? This demonstrates the need for us to understand Ibaryath, the Phoenician Hebrew. Okay, we need to be able to look at these words and give an assessment as to the accuracy of the rendering by any Bible translator. And I can teach you these skills at Zion Law School if you want to come and participate for free with any of our classes, right? You get with the Deuteronomy chapter 28 class, we're doing a word for word breakdown of every word, right? And that's its etymology, it's part of speech, everything. You can come and get that in 4 weeks for free. There's no obligation. You're going to learn a tremendous amount. So you may as well come and observe at least for the 4 weeks. You can decide to stay or you can go, whatever you decide, but you'll at least gain insight and you'll gain skills, even in that short period of time, 4 weeks, right? You'll learn a lot. This demonstrates why we need to learn this, okay? Because if it were me, the way I would render this, I'm not too sure if I would render this as a tree. I prefer gallow, okay? I prefer gallow, okay? And I would render knowledge of good and evil as conscience and or moral philosophy and a value system or something along those lines, okay? And here, this has to do, I'm leaning more toward consuming, as in a fire, as opposed to eating. But I would have to think about this to figure out how to write this in English so that it's easy to understand, but yet captures the full meaning of the Hebraic words here, okay? We call it a workout in our classes, okay? But you see right now from just this summary or this overview I hope that you guys learned a lot by what I just did here. You can render this however you want it. If you're Yasharala, this is your document. You have the responsibility to be able to do this, right? Because you don't know what these hybrids have written is accurate or not, right? How are you going to find out unless you go into it yourself, okay? Unless you do the rendering yourself. It's the only way you can find out. So come to class at Zion Law School. You learn these skills. There are lots of people who are here who will help you. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging. It's not easy at all, but it's fun. And it's a real eye opener. I can promise you that. We're doing in about 4.5 hours, we're going to do Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 14, which is the end of the curses. And then next week, we'll do Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, which is the beginning of the curses. And then this course will go all the way into the last verse of Deuteronomy, which is verse 68. I think it's verse 68. And so I'm writing the books as we go. So right now I'm in volume 2. This is the first volume of the curses. You can see behind me, this is Biblical Phoenician Hebrew, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 through 14. This is volume 2. This is volume 2. So I'm writing volume 3 now, which is going to be verse 15 through maybe 28 or 30, something like that. So anyway, so please like and share this video if you found it interesting, or if you learned something, or if you think somebody else might benefit from it. If you like and share, Post it on your Facebook or Instagram or something like that. Other people can learn about this, and you'll help a lot of people, right? And the task right now is for us to return to the Most High. And the way to do that, the best way to do that is to get our minds off of the curses, change our paradigm. Stop thinking about the curses and start thinking and focusing and acting on the blessings. This is what we have to do as a House of Yasharallah. And this is my contribution toward doing that. If you want to learn more, if you want to focus more on the blessings and get away from the curses, come to Zion Law School, take advantage of the four classes that you get for free in the Deuteronomy chapter 28 is like the foundational chapter, right? That defines who we are. It has all of the benefits and the curses, or the blessings and the curses per the contract, per the covenant contract, right? It has the Decalogue, or the what they call the 10 Commandments. It has the do this and don't do that. And this has the duties, and Deuteronomy 28, etc., has the responsibilities and obligations and the rewards and the punishments, right, that are associated with that. So if that's what you want to focus on, if you want to get away from religion, if you want to get away from toxic religion or toxic organizations, or even toxic camps. I don't know what your experience has been. You want to get away from toxicity, and if you want to learn the academic aspect of what this is all about, come to Zion Law School. Okay, come to Zion Law School. And as I do these lives, I'll post the link in the comment section. And if you want to come into the classroom, you can come into the classroom, and we can do this together, right? We can do it together. You can participate, ask questions, present whatever you want on a topic, whatever. You're welcome to come to class. The whole idea is to learn with the intent of understanding what our ancestors understood this information to mean at the time when they heard it or when they read it, so that we can break free of the mental bondage. Okay, so we can break free of the mental bondage that most of our people, the 99.99%, are under mental bondage. Okay, and so that we can return to the Most High, focus on the blessings. Anyway, I'm Dr. Yasapa with Zion Law School, and I appreciate you